Hello! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another tier ranking video. I guess at this point it's a series now. You guys love the other ones. I did Europe, Asia, and South America was the last episode. Today, we're going to be taking a look at all of the Africa teams that could potentially qualify for Qatar this year. Now, the crazy thing about this list is in the other ones, there were a few teams that have already qualified, or a good chunk that have already qualified. In this one, none of them are confirmed to qualify for Qatar as of yet, and only half of these teams in this video are going to be at the actual tournament. All these teams already went through a few rounds in the Africa World Cup qualifiers. Now is the final task. They've been drawn to go head-to-head with each other. I made a prediction video on which of the teams I think will make it to Qatar this year, so if you haven't checked that out already, go do it now. I'll leave a link in the description below. But yeah, if you're new here, this isn't necessarily a full-on prediction video as we don't even know the groups yet and we don't even know which of these teams have qualified. It's basically just an early outline of how far I think each of these teams can potentially go this year. And obviously only half of them will actually be there, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to be assuming that the team did qualify. Now, in the South America video, I might have come across as a bit generous for a few of the teams. In this video, I might have to be a bit harsh, and I'll tell you why. In history, the furthest any African team has made it in the World Cup is the quarterfinal. Could this finally be the year that we finally see one break it, make it to the semifinal, or potentially the final? It's crazy that Ghana could have broke history in South Africa if it weren't for Luis Suarez. But yeah, anyway, if I do your team dirty, just know I hope the best for all these teams. I would love to see one of them break history. This is just my personal opinion of how far I think each of these teams could potentially go. Obviously, no hate to any of them, and let me know your opinion on this list in the comments below. But yeah, let's get into it, starting off with a pretty tough one, actually. DR Congo. DR Congo are coming up against Morocco in the World Cup qualifiers. A decent amount of people are probably banking on Morocco to make it. It would be incredible if DR Congo prove everybody wrong, though, as out of the teams in this tier maker list, they are disregarded the most as they're the only team to miss the Africa Cup of Nations this year, which is obviously a shame, but it would be amazing to see them bounce back to make it to the World Cup. The problem with the squad, though, is a lot of their well-known players don't look as promising as they used to be, with the exception of Bakambu, who has just signed for Marseille and has had a brilliant start to his career there. Mbokani also had a brilliant career, but he's already 36 years old. Bolasie played for so many English clubs, and now he's playing in Turkey, which is obviously great for him, but sometimes I feel like this guy didn't live up to the hype. There's obviously a few other players I didn't talk about. And with the scenario that DR Congo are able to beat Morocco in the World Cup qualifiers head-to-head, personally, I hope they prove me wrong, but I'm putting them at the group stage. I don't think they can get further than that, unfortunately. Would be an amazing story if they make it to the knockouts, but it would be incredible if they make it in the first place because Morocco's looking amazing. Good luck to DR Congo. Next up, Cameroon. Cameroon obviously were the hosts of AFCON and they had a fantastic tournament regardless of not being able to make it to the final. They still got third place. They've got a tough task coming up though. They got to play Algeria in the World Cup qualifiers. Obviously, Algeria massively slipped in AFCON, but it's still definitely a neck-and-neck matchup. They've obviously got some incredible players. Vincent Aboubakar being the top goal scorer in the Africa Cup of Nations. Karl Toko Ekambi, a brilliant player for Lyon as well. The list obviously goes on, and this was one of the teams that did make it to the quarterfinal in their World Cup history. It's been a while. The year to be exact was 1990. If they're able to beat Algeria in the qualifiers, it will be a massive statement and boost for all the players on the team, and I think that would mean they have potential to get out of the group stage for sure. How far after that, though, it really depends. Although I just praised their Africa Cup of Nations run, they had a few matches where, you know, their road was a bit easy as they had to play Comoros and Gambia. When they played Comoros, the Comoros goalkeeper was actually an outfield player, and they only beat this side 2-1. Cameroon is definitely a tricky call, especially when you got to consider that they're playing all these teams from all over the world. It definitely might be a tough task for them to get really far. I'm going to say the best they can do is possibly the round of 16s. Wouldn't be surprised if I'm proven wrong and they make it to the quarterfinals, but I do think that all these other teams from all over the world will be a bit challenging for them, despite their amazing squad. Now for Algeria. Like I just mentioned, this side has to play Cameroon in the Africa World Cup qualifiers head-to-head, and also they had a pretty disastrous Africa Cup of Nations run. When they were considered to be one of the favorites after winning it last time, they got knocked out of the group stage, and it was a massive shock as this side had a very impressive unbeaten run. Over 30 games or so. I don't know what it was with the national team in this tournament, as it was just such a random slip from them. But like I said, we're in the scenario that Algeria did qualify for the World Cup, so if this were to be true, they would have been Cameroon. They would probably gain some confidence yet again, and the squad could definitely be determined to do wonders in Qatar, especially because this is a fellow Arab country. Possibly, the fans could be rooting for them. The furthest Algeria has ever gone in the World Cup is the round of 16s, and that was in Brazil in 2014. They didn't make it to Russia, unfortunately. I genuinely think things can go Algeria's way if they manage to qualify. It's going to be a tricky road, and I think they can cut some matches close. And it definitely depends on who they get in the round of 16s. I don't know how well they could handle a powerhouse from Europe, such as Germany and whatnot. Easy to reference them as they had to play each other in Brazil. But Algeria made it really close in that match. It had to go to extra time. Despite Algeria's shaky form recently, I think this could be their possibility to prove themselves yet again. I'm going to be generous for Algeria. I think they could be motivated in Qatar. They obviously also just won the Arab Cup there. I'm going to go big for Algeria and say they make it to the quarterfinals. Like I said, definitely depends on their road, and I don't think it's going to be easy for them. But I definitely think they're one of the few African teams that can possibly be motivated in this tournament to do wonders. Now for Egypt. Obviously, we all know this heartbroken side just lost in the Africa Cup of Nations final to Senegal, and they got to play each other yet again in the Africa World Cup qualifiers. It would obviously be a massive statement and revenge story. Carlos Queiroz has done a wonderful job for the Egyptian national team, and to be fair, he even said that his main focus was to actually qualify for the World Cup. He's still got to be proud for how far he took Egypt in the Africa Cup of Nations, but it's going to be very tricky, and I think it's a bit unfortunate that they got paired with Senegal in this final Africa World Cup qualifier run. Also, in 2018, Egypt unfortunately crashed in the group stage, and to be honest, I think they should have done a lot better. Their group obviously wasn't easy, but it was manageable to get out of. Will the likes of Mohamed Salah pull through again? Will he form another brilliant partnership with Trezeguet? And will Gabanski be the first choice keeper now? Lots of questions for the Egyptian national team, and definitely time will tell for this side. But if they're able to get revenge on Senegal, I think a good amount of people will probably say this side will only make it to the group stage, especially after their Russia performance. But I'm going to be generous and say that this side has potential to make it to the round of 16. Similar to Algeria, the motivation could be there for Egypt, but yeah, they'll probably come up against a very, very strong team in the round of 16s. They could show a lot of heart out there and make it close, but I think they'll just fall short. I think getting out of the group stage would already be a massive achievement though, as that is the furthest the side has gone in the first place. But yeah, I'm going to be hopeful for Egypt as they honestly very much impressed me in the Africa Cup of Nations. It'll be trickier for them against Europe, South America, and all that, but I definitely think they have potential to prove themselves. They showed a lot of heart out there in Cameroon. I believe in them. Next up, Ghana. Now, obviously, we've already talked about how Ghana are one of the few teams who have made it to the quarterfinal, the most recent one, in fact, in South Africa, unfortunately losing to Uruguay. But ever since then, it seems like this side hasn't been the same. They also massively underperformed in the Africa Cup of Nations, also getting knocked out of the group stage along with Algeria. And although they still have some great players in there, it's definitely going to be a tough task against the mighty Nigeria. I hate to be harsh to Ghana. I'd love to see them pull some upsets here, but based on how it's been going for them, to be brutally honest, I think the furthest they can go is the group stage. Like I said, I got to be a bit more harsh in this video, and I definitely have less belief in Ghana making it further compared to Egypt, Cameroon, and Algeria. But best of luck. Next up, Morocco. Many people are banking on this side to actually qualify for the World Cup, and despite losing to Egypt in the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations, they still had a very good run. Obviously, this side has so much talent, but one thing that does concern me about them is the fact that the coach refuses to take Ziyech. To me, he's one of their best players. Maybe Halil Hodzic will change his mind by the time the tournament rolls around. Obviously, you got Hakimi in there as well, who is fantastic, but they might be missing some creativity up top. It's going to be tough against the other teams around the world. In the last World Cup, they crashed out of the group stage, unfortunately. No wins, but they put up decent fights against all the teams they faced, even drawing with Spain. It's a tough call for Morocco. The only time they made it out of the group stage was in 1986. But even with the Ziyech loss, obviously they still have a terrific squad, and definitely depending on their group, I think they can possibly do bits. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be in the assumption that things go their way. Obviously, this is subject to change once we see the groups themselves. I'm going to say the best shot they got is going to the round of 16s. Obviously, history doesn't suggest that, but I definitely have some suspicion that in this World Cup, we will see a decent amount of underdogs shine. Definitely will not be easy though. Next up, Mali. If they are successful in qualifying for the World Cup and beat Tunisia in the head-to-head, this will be their debut in the tournament, which would be massive. The hype will be there, and obviously the neutrals will cheer for them. They had impressive moments in the Africa Cup of Nations, but then unfortunately they lost to penalties against Equatorial Guinea. This side already qualifying for the World Cup, I think, would be massive. But unfortunately, if they make it, I don't think it's going to be better than the group stage. A lot of African teams already struggle against all the other teams from all over the world. If the likes of Morocco and Egypt barely make it out of the group stage, I can't see Mali doing it themselves. Obviously, I'd love to see them prove me wrong, but that's what I'm going with. Now for Nigeria. The furthest Nigeria able to go in the World Cup is the round of 16. And the last time they did it was in Brazil. In Russia, they crashed in the group stage, despite getting a solid win against Iceland. Nigeria obviously had a very impressive Africa Cup of Nations run until the knockouts where they lost to Tunisia. But in the group stage, they did very, very well, and people started to believe that they could have been the favorites to win the tournament. In recent history, Nigeria has a decent amount of success qualifying for the World Cup. So they're obviously familiar with the tournament. Obviously, the squad changes over the years, but they usually put up pretty decent fights. If Nigeria do well in the group stage, get lucky for their path in the knockouts, I think they could break history and make it to the quarterfinals. Obviously, things got to go their way with their draw and all that. If they come up against a very strong team, it will look doubtful. But even though they choked in the Africa Cup of Nations, I think this is a side that has what it takes, especially with Napoli striker Osimhen. Nigeria were missing this guy in the Africa Cup of Nations. He definitely could have added more to the squad. I'm not saying it's likely that they make it to the quarterfinals, but I wouldn't say we can rule them out making it this far. Good luck to Nigeria. Now for Senegal. Now, Senegal, obviously the winners of the Africa Cup of Nations. Bravo to this side. And they look like one of the best sides on paper in Africa. They got one of the best wingers, Sadio Mane. Chelsea's goalkeeper, Mendy. Center back, Koulibaly from Napoli. This side didn't even do that badly in the last World Cup. They got knocked out of the group stage, but they were eliminated based off of yellow cards accumulated. It really broke down to that against Japan. It was the most unfortunate way to get out of the World Cup. I genuinely felt so bad for this side. I could see them being motivated to do bits in this World Cup if they qualify, obviously. This is the one team I would put more money on making it the furthest. I mean, such a terrific squad, and I think the determination will be very high this year. Confidence obviously booming more than ever. I want to be generous and say they break the African curse, make it all the way to the semi-final, but I'm going to put them at quarterfinals. I think they're one of the more likely teams to do it out of those three I placed. I hope I'm wrong on this because I'd love to see some history broken, but I cannot see an African team breaking the curse, making it to the semi-final this year. If they prove me wrong, great. It would be one hell of a story. And this is a side definitely every team in the world's got to watch out for. Now, the final team we're looking at is Tunisia. The furthest Tunisia made it in the World Cup is the group stage every time they qualified. And I hate to say it, but I don't think Qatar is going to be any exception for them. I unfortunately think they'll crash there. I know the Tunisians will get at me as I doubted them in the past, and they actually beat Nigeria, obviously, in the Africa Cup of Nations. But I truly think they'll just be outclassed by all the other teams from all over the world. Maybe they could get lucky and get an easier group, but I don't see them breaking history. Good luck, Tunisia. Prove me wrong. It was kind of hard to judge this side also at the Africa Cup of Nations because they had a huge coronavirus outbreak, which massively impacted their group stage result. They barely made it out of the group themselves. But like I said, I'd love to see all of these teams prove me wrong. Genuinely. It would be incredible to see some underdogs excel way further than any of us expect. And it's obviously going to be one hell of a World Cup. Unfortunately, like I said, no teams in the semifinals or the final. As of now, I'm going to predict that history isn't broken for Africa, but we shall see. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and like I said, let me know your list in the comments below. Thank you all for making it to the end. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. La con noche.